The new fusion is finally here. I am very pumped. I'm going to tell you why you need him and how to get him. Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm very pumped about today's video because I'm excited about this fusion. I think it's a good fusion and I kind of think it's a necessary one as well. So in today's video, we are going to break down the fusion itself, the champion, and then we'll go ahead and look at the plan for the fusion and when and how you should do things. So first things first, let's talk about the champion. I kind of waited a little bit so that I would have access to the champion to properly kind of review him. So Yukimasa, Demon of Ice, by the way, looks awesome. You guys know Shadowkin is probably my favorite faction visually. Absolutely cool looking. Just, yeah, I can barely even put it into words how much I enjoy the look of this dude. So let's go over the kit really quickly, and then I'll kind of summarize why I think that most accounts need this guy. A1 attacks all enemies, has a 25% chance of placing a block active skills debuff for 1 turn. This debuff can't be resisted if at least one enemy is under most hard CC other than polymorph. Instantly activates the skill whenever this champion skips a turn because of a hard CC other than polymorph, which makes sense because if he was polymorph, he couldn't attack with his A1, right? He can only do a sheep attack, so it wouldn't be available. So that makes sense, by the way. The A2 attacks all enemies, will ignore block damage buffs. Has 75% chance, books up to 100. I think I said this one was 25, books up to 40% chance. Has a 100% chance when booked, chance of placing a freeze debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted if they have at least one enemy under hard crowd control except polymorph. Revives 1 random ally with 50% HP and 50% turn meter if this skill did not kill an enemy. Revives all allies if this skill kills at least 1 enemy. Listen up, I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. That right there is why I think you need this champion. How many revivers are there in Shadowkin? There aren't a lot. We'll go with that. Maybe there's one. I don't even know who it would be off the top of my head. But yeah, not a lot of revivers in Shadowkin. So you got one. Sure, they're also a damage dealer, but that's kind of fitting with Shadowkin in a way. But we'll keep going and we'll come back to that. The A3 attacks 1 enemy before attacking, steals all turn meter from the target. This effect cannot be resisted if at least 1 enemy is under hard crowd control. I say hard crowd control. I guess fear isn't really hard crowd control, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? And then equalizes the target's defense with this champion's defense for this attack. Really good. The damage inflicted by the skill increases by the amount of turn meter stolen. Lastly, for the passive, fills this champion's turn meter by 50% whenever this champion skips a turn because of hard CC. Whenever this champion skips a turn because of one of those debuffs, their next active skill will ignore 50% of the target's defense. So I like the kit, but mainly I'm looking at it from the lens of a reviver in Shadowkin, which will be very valuable in areas of the game such as faction wars, right? So I also really love, given the new content that just came out, that this champion fills 2 roles. You have a damage dealer and you have a reviver. If we talk really quickly about, crafting teams like for Grim Forest, traditionally, or at least this is the recommended from me and from other content creators, you have one side of damage dealers and one side of supports. And things can go wrong. I mean, as you get further into the more difficult stages of this area, you get less and less things to recruit, and you might get a handful of your weaker supports and but maybe, Yukimasa shows up and is an option that does damage and support. So I like his kit, plain and simple, but I'm really intrigued by the Shadowkin Reviver. And I'm trying to think of anybody down here that is a Reviver off the top of my head. I mean, even, oh no, that Donatello is not a Reviver and not in this faction. Do they even have one? I don't know how many of them I have, like, is it Kinagashi? Okay, so Kinagashi can revive, yeah. All right, so they do have one. It's a single target revive on a 4-turn cooldown. That's not that bad on a 4-turn cooldown. But when we compare it to Yukimasa, it's a 3-turn cooldown and does a bunch of other stuff, including damage, which is really cool. And I love abilities that do damage and heal, or sorry, do damage and revive, you know, a la Odin and Nice. I absolutely love them. I have them. They're my only real revivers on my free-to-play, which is funny. So I am going for Yukimasa on both accounts, my free-to-play and the main account. So let's talk fusion plan, and then we will talk about some of the potential hiccups along the way. Okay, so first things first, right now the easiest thing to be doing is gear enhancement. You should be able to knock that out pretty quickly. For me, on my free-to-play, I'm very low on silver because I've been building a lot of champions lately since I just got back into the game and was trying to beat Faction Wars. So being so low on silver, I am pushing, I need to get silver, right? So I'm probably going to put that off until after I do Dragon on Wednesday. Why am I waiting to do Dragon on Wednesday? Because that is going to overlap right here with Gear Hunter's event. Then on Thursday, that Gear Hunter's event will overlap with Ice Golem. So I will also be doing Ice Golem during that time on Thursday. So that should complete the Gear Hunters event, get me the Dragon tournament and the Ice Golem tournament. Now, that's pretty much the plan for the first 4 events. Champion training tournament, pretty standard. You train up some champions, maybe even if they're just food, and go from there. Summon Rush. Now, notice that the Summon Rush, I'm gonna make sure I'm not blocking this. Summon Rush has 2. One, you can get an epic, and you can get one of the rares. I likely will not go for the epic on my free-to-play, but on my main account, I have quite a few sacred shards saved up. So going for the epic may not be that difficult for me. And that allows me the freedom to kind of take a break in some other areas. I am a little, we'll talk about that when we get there. So that's the champion training tournament. Important thing about a champion training tournament, it does include books. So that is a good way to gain points for champion training tournament. So just keep that in mind. The Summon Rush, gotta pull shards. Sacreds are the easiest way to get points. Usually 6, sometimes 7. I don't know that this champion is good enough for it to be like an 8 count or anything. I'd expect to see 6 or 7. I'm resisting the urge, guys. I've got a child and I love making her cringe with the 6-7 stuff. So, okay. So just keep that in mind. But if you do want to skip some other areas and you have a lot of sacred shards, I want to say, like, I don't know why I have the number 13 in my head, but that kind of is what I feel like it's around. I could be wrong. If it's an insane amount, I'm not going to pull my sacreds for it. Like, I'm not bankrupting my entire sacred stockpile just to get an epic. I'll just do the events. But it is a way to skip 4 of these events. I tend to skip 4 on the end, or 4 of the more like annoying ones to do. Classic arena takedown, easiest part of the fusion. You're going to get it anyways if you're using your arena daily tokens. And then another gear enhancement. So a long break in here between Gear Hunter events, because this is a gear enhancement. I got that right this time. I kept calling gear enhancement Gear Hunters, and yeah. All right, then we move on to kind of the third phase here, Fire Knight Tournament. This Fire Knight Tournament does not interact with any Gear Hunter events. There are only 2 Gear Hunter events. Now, I suspect, given the date frame here of where you would expect another Gear Hunter event to be, we're right around the holidays. I suspect there may be a deck or hero's path or something that will be a gear hunter event, so you'll get points from summon. Ooh, I'm only going to go for the rare and the summon rush because we might have a summoning related thing that interacts with also a dungeon divers. Now, by the way, I have no evidence to support this, and I haven't watched any of the other, I've been so busy today at work, I haven't watched any of the other content creator videos on what they think is going to happen. I just know that in years past, we've had a few different events over the holidays. One was a Titan event, which we don't currently have, so maybe they're not doing that. Two is a guaranteed champion associated with pulling shards usually. I don't remember what we had to do to get bells. I just remember getting him. It might have been souls, but that was a deck of fate to get bells last year. I just feel like they're going to do something similar. I have no inclination, but I find it very strange that we don't have a Gear Hunters event in the middle here tied to anything. To have an entire tournament with no Gear Hunter event is very surprising to me. I did not expect to see that. Then we have this double champion training event, which is strange to me. I guess they'll have two. It's an event, not a tournament, so they'll probably just have like one that's easy to get and one that's a little harder to get. So two in the same champion training event. Another classic arena, typical, right? Easy. Then we have a Gear Hunters event 2 instead of 3 that coincides with a spider tournament and a champion chase tournament over this weekend. So the champion chase tournament, that is where you're going to get points for the type of champion that you summon. This will probably be voids. I don't know that for sure. I can't remember the order. We just had ancients. I feel like it might be voids. It could be sacreds, but sacreds in a 2x are not the best things to pull, to be honest. But if you're like me and you've been doing a lot of different events, you might have some remnant summons to pull, right? You might have some fragment stuff saved up that you can pull. I don't on this account. So that might be one that you know, if it's sacreds, maybe you try to get points other ways rather than pulling sacred shards because they're not that good to get points. And at this point in the game, you know, if you, depending on your level, depending on how many champions you have, pulling sacreds during a 2x may not be the most advantageous thing to do on your account. I know for both of my accounts, pulling sacreds on a 2x is not something I'm going to do unless there is other motivation to do so, significant motivation. So, okay, we got one last thing I didn't cover. That's the last gear enhancement event. Good news is you should get plenty of silver from this spider tournament and get you that gear enhancement stuff. So that's pretty much the plan. Just make sure that you're trying to overlap the gear hunters with the tournaments. As you can see, these do not even come close to overlapping. So do not expect you're going to have to do this fire tournament by itself, fire night tournament, without getting an extra dungeon hunt, gear hunter points. But I'm telling you, there's got to be something up here in that time frame. Now, it's a weird time frame because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, not during a clan v clan. So there's really not a big summon boost that kind of happens during that time. At least I don't feel like there is. Like right now we're about to have good summoning boosts during clan v clan. I don't know that are they even in the news, or is that just announced? Yeah, it's not in the news at least, but we are getting good summoning events for clan v clan. I'm incredibly tempted to pull voids, but I'm going to resist the urge given potential holiday guarantees. But it's very tempting. So speaking of clan v clan, just a reminder, you know, how this kind of relates to the gear enhancement. If you wanted to save, I think you get clan v clan points for that. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest. But Wednesday, you're going to be farming dragon, right? Theoretically to do dragon and the gear hunters. So I would try and coordinate your other point getting clan v clan stuff first. I tend to wait until the second day to really rack up points in the dungeons, but it's very important to remember that of the dungeons, Dragon gives the least amount of points compared to the other 3 of the original dungeons, right? And then of course you have Sand Devil and Phantom Shogun that also give 400 for the highest difficulties, whereas the highest difficulty on Dragon only gives 200. So I wouldn't do a bunch of Dragon during Clan v Clan, but you can overlap that and double dip. Just bear in mind that you're going to want to wait till Wednesday and plan your Clan v Clan strategy according to that. What's very interesting, this is the first Clan v Clan we've had in a while in which I do not see any news or events coming or tournaments for the Phantom Shogun or related areas. So that's a bit of a surprise. Normally during Clan v Clan, we get a Phantom Shogun Ascension tournament or it's both of them, right? Or we get a Sand Devil tournament. So it's a surprise not to see one of those as well during Clan v Clan, which, you know, that's usually how I get my points. I'm probably still going to get my points doing Shogun and Sand Devil, but, you know, just something to consider for you guys. So that's everything I have for you. I'm very excited. I do think this champion is worth getting, and I think most players should get them. If you're Kraken and you've already completed Faction Wars for Shadowkin, cool. Probably don't need them, but you have the resources, you might as well. But if you're a newer player, a mid-game player, this is a really good champion that I think is going to open up a lot of avenues. You get an extra reviver. If they become kind of your main damage dealer, maybe you get a 5-star soul somewhere in here for them as well. That could be a real good opportunity to have that backup reviver. That's something that I miss. On my free-to-play, I have to bring a Godseeker Aniri because I don't have a better reviver than that. And my rabbit tends to die on my best team. To be able to bring this guy as my potential reviver on that team gives me additional damage and a revive, which can come in pretty handy. So just some food for thought for you guys. So, and for me on my main account, I do have, I have Hariba, but I also have Tetsuya. And right now what I'm running is Lady Kimi, Tetsuya, Harima, and Mikage. I don't know that I really make a change in that team for this new fusion, but it's definitely something worth playing around. Is the new fusion better than Lady Kimi? Given I need the speed boosting, not really. Might be better than Lady Mikage, right? I get a revive, I get some turn meter with the passive, and some extra really heavy damage dealing and block active skills, which is quite useful as well. So it might be something worth doing. I don't know, but I do love my Shadowkin team, and now I have an additional asset to roll into that team. So pretty excited about that. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. It is the best way to support my channel, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Take care.